only thing that I know is this bar that's back there.
Yeah.
To
That's for rotating the warp on, for turning the beam.
Well, I have seen that the tension on this is through here and tied with a cord.
With the cord, and that's what I'm thinking is going on here.
Or this beam, there's another beam here that's got pegs. So you
Yeah,
can
but
take
I'm
the
looking-
lever and put it between the pegs that you want.
Okay.
I've also seen the front beam tension,
The-
rollers and sandbags.
Yeah, and it may very well be a
I
bag
forgot the
system.
book, I forgot the
Yeah,
book.
it may be a bag system a weight, because there's no place.
it would be a
for-
weighted system.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
no place for a ratchet and pawl. The ratchets here, there's no place to put a pawl on it.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like there's been a pawl.
Ever. Or on the back. So it has to be a weighted system.
Yeah.
So I just need to find that and
Or
get you the information
Put the
on
stick
it.
through, turn it, and lock down the shaft
Well,
Now-
how do you lock it down? That's the point.
with the cord.
Yeah, you have to use the cord.
I need to.
Now, what about this disaster area up here? That surely couldn't be original. And I don't know why that's not jointed. It should be jointed. There should be a mortise and tenon through that thing, and it's not.
There should be, yeah. But see, the thing is how old these looms are. You'll be amazed at what people have done to them.
Oh, yeah.
And how they've cobbled different ones together.
These look like blacksmith nails,
Yeah,
original.
The number of spinning wheels.
Yeah,
that
they
are
do.
sold that are not even made to be spinning wheels. They're a decorator item that looks like a spinning wheel.
So, and I also noticed that this is adjustable.
yes,
The height is adjustable. If we
Yes.
would have raised this up, would it clear that?
possibly.
But you still think it's too long.
But it changes when you raise it up, and
Right.
it depends upon the numbers you've got. Karen, go.
There is a hole.
I don't know
for
if
that crate to
if
drive
that's
into.
adjustable or not.
Is there,
Only up here. So it's height adjustable only.
okay,
And the question is, how far up
all
can
right.
it go? See, there's no holes. It's as high as it
Right.
will go.
Can we raise
It's
the,
as high as it'll
You
go.
could put a new hole and raise it.
can we raise the beaters on the shaft? Because
No. Well, see, we've got a problem with the, this is hitting the back over there.
yeah,
So
Well,
at some point,
Doesn't this have to be lined up with that?
no.
yes, it will be.
Well, it will,
can
it
go-
doesn't have to line up
Okay,
because it's
yeah.
gonna come up through the
See.
shafts and then
Okay.
you've got your
We
weaving
just-
area right
we just
here.
angle it up a little.
Counterbalance, it is you
Yeah.
can straight line from here to there.
You
but
can, but you don't have
At
to.
this minor moment, this is not level and it's been spiked with a nail. That's an easy pull it out
Yeah.
and see,
Yeah,
Now, was this a four harness or a two harness? It was a two harness,
We're only
so it didn't
seeing-
have a horse on it before.
no.
Okay.
There's only two
Because I
treads.
didn't see how many treadles you had, and there's only two treadles, which only means up and down.
Oh, that's not three treadles?
That's two and.
And a brake?
And a spread, no, it's
spreader?
a spreader,
A
a
support.
separator. You see the size here? This
They're
down
broad.
here typically, the center one is typically to keep your feet from crossing each other. Now, you
Logistically,
can
where
put a
is the-
third one.
The weaver is sitting through here, has to be to reach those.
That's what I couldn't figure out. How do you sit and how do you run the what is this called
Beater.
the beater and operate the
You
treadles?
don't, you stand.
How do you stand and do it though? You
You can't reach them.
can't reach them.
Robin, there's a beam in the way.
Well, and that's what I'm looking at, Karen. There's a lot of mix mash on this loom. This is a couple of looms that have been cobbled together.
I was thinking to make longer treadles
That
that-
would.
because if you're standing here and you're using the beater, you have to be able to get to your.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense, does it?
they should come out past.
And are those the original shuttles or not?
These,
No, the shuttle.
the shuttles? No, these are modern.
Okay.
These are modern.
Screaming modern, but.
So
Yeah,
can you
these
send me a
are
picture of what I'm
really
supposed to make for the shuttle?
They look exactly like that, except they're old.
Except they're all,
Okay, so I don't have to make one.
Now, and it all depends on how thick are you putting in. As to
Yeah,
whether
they're-
you have.
Oh,
this frame.
because it won't when you slide it, it won't pull the weight.
there's a current, no, it's the amount of thread you can put on a shuttle is determined by the type of shuttle and how thick your thread is.
Oh.
So when did they come with the shuttle that has
The boat shuttle, that's a new invention.
I can't think of it, the spool in the shuttle?
That's the boat shuttle.
And that's fairly modern, and
Okay.
it's for a wider loom. You
Is
don't
that,
have-
did you find a part?
Part of it?
Yes. Well, let me see.
Karen,
That's
am
another,
I looking at a
That's-
beam?
you're looking at a beam with a pivot lock on it and
That's probably it.
two carved notches.
I didn't know where it went. but-
Good eye. I
I
can measure that and make sure it fits in there. I bet you that's what it is.
But where
Do you
does
think
That's your
this
back
goes,
beam.
does it even,
That's the back beam.
so that's not the original back beam?
what's the,
Like I said, this is a cobbled together.
where does it go then?
It'll go here.
Karen, I think it goes here and sits into this slot.
Oh, you
I
got
think
another-
those are, they're slotted. I bet anything it sits in here. Cause look at the slots on the side.
It's good eye, sir.
Okay, so this is the wrong one.
That would be.
Or maybe that's the right one and this is the wrong one.
Or maybe that's from another loom that's somewhere but not.
No, I don't think we have any more, but I think they probably were demonstrating it, so they built their own.
Yeah, or
Thing back there.
they just made it work for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's our question.
But
is,
looking
do
at
you want it
that
to work
one,
for
I
now,
mean,
or do you
it's
want it
possible
back
it went to a completely different
Probably
loom,
made.
but it's also possible that just based on,
Measure those,
yeah, let me get the tape measure.
I brought one with me if you need one. Now, when I came in here and looked at this the first time, I thought this was the other way around. And I was looking at it, it seemed like your material would go down and you have to go on the smooth part of this. And this is squared off back here. So this was here, so I turned this
Yeah,
around because
it's
this is the right way, isn't
it's
it?
the right way.
And it goes back to your, this is the front beam? Is that what you call that?
yeah, which means this whole thing has to be taller because it'll going right into there. There's not enough clearance. That's, but this,
Right, because that's got to go on the top.
but we know this needs to be raised up because it is not a straight line from here to there.
So you even think this is, what do you call this whole unit right here?
This whole thing is the beater.
The whole thing is the beater.
assembly.
So we need to raise the
Yeah,
beater.
see, but you look, there's the adjustments.
Yeah, but there are no holes. You're at the highest point right now.
Just need
There are
another
no
hole.
holes below it.
We need another hole up there. So we
That
can
or
raise
this
it.
beam has crept down by.
It's crept down a lot. You can see in the
You
joint,
can see the whole.
this
whole
joint
thing.
is, this whole thing is crooked.
Karen, push up on that side.
Yeah.
Now the loom is standing straight.
You know,
That's how it should
it
be.
got racked.
And the beater is still low, but that's my.
But, well, the beater may be low, but turn the cloth bar. Turn the cloth bar. Does it hit? It still hits on that.
You're not all the way up either.
Yeah, you're not all the way up. There,
There we
that's
go,
where it's
there we go.
supposed to be.
There we go.
Yeah, that's
And
how it
that's-
should look.
That's line of sight through, what's the,
So
it's in the
cross
top there.
bracing may help to achieve that.
Those back,
Keep the,
the back posts need to be straight up and down.
yeah,
That, and or another piece of wood inserted on top where your finger is that's got notches in it.
yeah, but Karen, we still need to get the loom up straight or
Yeah.
it's never gonna
Right,
function
but you
properly.
can see that would raise it slightly and give you your adjustments.
Well, getting these,
Well, one of the problems with it is the joint is this joint is so wore out.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I can fix the joint.
yeah, and it's- you've got the same,
We're balancing between perfect reconstruction and functional.
yeah.
And we're getting closer by the moment.
I like the way you
You know,
said
the
that.
pins that used to hold that in back are gone.
What do you,
I need you to, I need to.
The what are
put
gone?
The center beam.
They had holes that
center
used to have a
of the
through
beam.
pin like this in back,
Here's that.
and the pins are
with the
gone.
beginning of the groove?
But
Well,
the holes
This
are
side.
This,
knocked
my
out.
side of the groove.
Okay,
See how they're
Okay,
knocked
that
out?
bar
Yeah.
does not go with this one.
that bar does not go with this one?
No, it's 2 inches wrong.
And that lets it,
Okay.
it lets it rack forward wrong, you know?
Yeah. This one's broken in the back. I'll have to fix that.
Yeah, and you've got these on the weights up here. Karen, look down here. Look at how this has got a hole, that one had a hole in it. That's another beam to help keep things straight, keep the whole
They
thing
had
together.
these pins,
Yeah,
and the pins are missing.
so there may be pins, or it could be a cross beam. That's another thing you can do if you don't wanna mess with the beams, is put another cross beam across there. Between this hole and whatever's repaired over there.
We are so freaking close, guys, really.
So to repair this probably wasn't originally here. I'm not thinking. I don't think this even existed at the beginning.
That wedge?
Yeah, I don't think this was there.
I'm thinking it might have been.
I'm
because it's
thinking
got
it,
the black
yes,
stick
it
in it.
probably was, but.
But why
when
would they? Why
everything-
wouldn't they cut the joint? That doesn't make no sense.
No, it's probably been in, everything has come forward. Everything has drifted forward. So my guess is this is probably they put it together, and then they discovered it drifted too far with the weight of this down. So they put bracing in, and instead of going back and cutting it, they put these in, or it was added after. But
Should I
it's
cut it?
not that long ago.
Should I cut it?
It's very planky and it's nailed instead of.
The
but-
thing is, there are nails and there are metal. There's metal all over this thing, and that was one of the things I needed to look at because that tells me
I would suggest.
You
basically
see
when
why
it
I
was
import her
done.
from Senate?
No, it's great.
And so what I would do is I would push this up.
Okay.
Get this so that it stands up, and reseat this. If you can finish it so that it doesn't look like it's been, and then put it back in. You want this brace here because the weight of this is going to pull this front down. You've got to have.
So
some
what
sort
happens
of bracing.
if I keep the appearance? And I'm gonna have to take this off.
Yeah, keep the appearance.
So what happens if I put? It's called a floating tenon. It's a part that
Yes.
goes in between here, but it's not actually attached like this tenon. Mm-hmm. It won't be attached. It'll be floating part inside of it,
That
and
would work.
it'll appear
Yeah. And
to be the
that's
same.
The issue.
I could do it that
That's
way.
the difference between functional and complete restoration. And what we're looking at is a combination of two. We want to
Okay.
keep it as original looking as possible so that we're not introducing a lot of modern to it.
Okay.
Which is why the shafts have to be done to look more like the period.
Okay. And what
so-
period would this be originally? Do you
This would
think?
be, because of the metal in it, we're talking right around just before the Civil War, probably sometime in the
Yeah, you can see how much
1850s.
Okay.
I would say somewhere between the 1850s and 1880s is when this was in use.
Okay.
And then it's been through several, let's make it fixable, let's make it workable, not
And-
caring about,
And
you
take
know.
apart,
Right.
let's move it
And,
and put it back
you know,
together.
it's
Now we got to
kinda
go
like-
back and fix a bunch of mistakes that were done to it.
Right,
I
because
got you.
and typically those repairs were being done by the person that owned it, who knew how to use it, or she knew how to use it. He just came in and fixed it so she could.
Yeah.
And that's typically what we see in these older looms
Right
that have
now,
not been through
me,
full
If
restoration.
I
Okay.
wanted this up and weaving, I would put a beam right here.
Yeah, she would come in.
I would come in and put a post from here to here, push this
It's
up.
up.
Do you think I should do that?
If you can make it so that it looks close to the original, it wouldn't hurt it.
I
It
can
would
I
make
can
it-
simulate the patinaed look.
Mm-hmm.
I can do that. And that way I wouldn't even. I've got to disassemble this thing anyway because I got to get to the joints back there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll have to take this out somehow. I've got to do this without
Well,
tearing
see-
it up, and then I can put a.
The closest
Yeah,
loom to
that's
this
the
that
biggest
I,
problem I have with the type of nails that have been used to. They once they're in, they don't want to come out. And when I've redone spinning wheels and what are called yarn clocks, it's an 6 or 8 armed spinning wheel that you wind yarn on, and it clicks when you get a certain number of rotations. A lot of those are done with the metal square head nails, and once they're iron nails, and once they're in, they don't want to let loose. And
Okay.
so you got to be real careful how you get them out so you don't gouge the wood. I mean, you're a woodworker, you
Yeah.
know. I have very little woodworking knowledge, but yeah, this is salvageable. We can get this functioning. As far as putting a beam in here, as Karen says, yes, that can be done.
I think I'm gonna do that.
And it would not necessarily go against what would have been some of the others from that time frame.
Okay.
You know, because every one of them was individually built.
Do I put this? If I put the beams here, do I put this back?
all the way across
I
there.
don't think you need
If
it.
the beam supports
I don't need it.
If the beam supports this,
I was just thinking for authenticity, but I don't think
no,
originally
it
this
doesn't
wasn't
make a
here.
difference. It wasn't there when it was originally.
Okay, so we don't need that. So why would someone build this thing and they just relied on this? I don't understand that, but especially with the beater bar going
Because
bam,
at the
bam.
time, it was probably physically attached to a barn wall.
Yeah, could-
So it wouldn't move. That makes sense.
And
Okay.
you've got to remember, it's very rickety now because one, it's been taken apart, put back together at least 3 times.
500 times.
It's got multiple pieces from other looms. This is a replacement. That's a replacement. That's not original.
Before I forget to ask you, because I need to ask you about this again. You said this part will not fit on this. It's not the right.
If you measure this is called the warp beam.
Okay.
The warp beam from its point right here to its equivalent point on the other side is 44 inches on this one.
On the other one.
46 on that one.
Okay, so it won't fit.
It won't fit.
Now, while I have you on video, can you go over this brake tying rope thing that you were talking about?
Picture and I didn't bring the book.
Well, that's okay. We'll get that to you.
have a picture
but
of the
yes.
book?
No,
There's a-
picture in books. We
Oh,
have
picture in books.
with-
Let me get on this side.
The history of looms and how they were made.
Typically, what happens
I'm
out
sorry, Karen.
here
No, Dad.
is you've got a loose rope here that is, and it may have multiple knots so that you've got loops
You can see
on
it
it.
here. On this one,
Is there a tie-on
yeah,
brake there?
yeah.
And what it does is it holds it with tension.
Okay, that's-
And when you take that off,
You could advance your material.
you can advance the material, then pull it back tight, and the bar doesn't move.
There you go.
Now, see, this is where it's just been tied all together, but it's similar to what you've got
Okay,
here.
Robin, here's
Have
what
we
you
got-
need. Here's what you need. There's your brake.
All right,
This is the brake.
this is the brake. This is a modern brake style.
The white cord was to transport it so things
Yeah.
don't flop around.
This is a
Okay.
modern brake style. Here it goes and it attaches down here
Okay.
to bolts, but there's no bolt holes over there. There's no way to do this over there. So what,
Except for that wooden peg.
right, and that what happens, and I'm familiar with
And
these,
what is this is-
when you're on the
Oh,
front.
those
those
are
are
metal.
heddles. They're
Yeah, those are metal.
Yeah, that one
Metal
will
heddles.
have
String.
cord.
I was going to make them.
Oh,
Yes, we.
I will a board with dowels.
Dowels in
Make
it?
a
And they
jig
have to be tied into a specific
length for the-
length and.
I told the museum I took 2 of the original, well, those heddles that were on here. I took them home and I measured them and I saw that how they were tied with the dowel board and all that. Should I do that?
This was a museum.
I tried because you can buy these,
Yeah.
the metal ones, but I
You
couldn't
can
see
buy
where
the
you-
string ones too, but they look like the modern. We can get the cord and we can tie them. If
How
you-
many heddles do you think you need for that machine?
It depends upon what you want to put on it.
Like
The
you only
more
have
heddles
so
mean
far.
the more threads.
Right.
You know, I mean, we can put 600 thread, 600.
My guess was 5, but I was
Yeah, we
close.
can put 300 heddles on each shaft.
Okay.
And have it only be this wide, or we can have it be this wide. The thread makes the difference.
So the thread makes a difference. So question for you. So, all right. So these are the horses, I guess. This is the harness, right? These are the heddles.
Yeah, we had a lot of
Okay, this loom is not, this is a rising loom. There's no horses on it.
Would this act the same?
Yes, it acts the
Okay, I
same.
stand corrected. So
Yeah,
this would
this is-
act the same as a horse.
Yeah.
And when can you see how long this thing is?
Yeah, let me get around to the other side.
Okay.
And then I can get, because the other side is actually the functional side.
that, and then your feet don't reach the trails.
Greg, here's one from Central Texas I saw this past weekend. I'll send you this photo.
Oh, please send me that. That would be great.
When you get
Yes.
to the big looms that aren't doing fabric, standing and running 2 treadles is feasible. When you get to the more advanced looms where you are doing complex fabric, seated is much better.
That's like
Yeah,
you showed
if
me
you
at
were
where you
doing-
were in Huntsville,
Yeah.
where you had all the treadles down there, and you were
Yeah.
seated with that slanted bench.
Yeah. If you were
Okay.
working on, say, like blankets on that, you don't sit and work on them continually. So you have a couple of minutes during the day, you would walk over, you'd throw a couple of shots, you wouldn't sit down, you'd be standing doing it. And while you were standing doing it, you would do a few shots and then go do something else and then later come back and do it again.
And just remember where you
Now,
left off.
In the house,
It's either
it's
left or
easy.
right.
It's either
Is
left
that
or
it?
right. That's
Okay.
It's obvious which one you're on.
The whole thing with weaving is left and right and up and down, no matter what loom you're on. It's left and
Another
right
what a
and up and
pattern
down.
that you use or anything.
It's all left
Okay.
and right and up and down. Like, see, on this one, we've got four four treadles that are tied up, but we have 6 available. That gives us pattern
Because they
capability.
go in pairs usually.
What is this?
I
Yes.
push down,
Oh,
and
good.
the
My
shafts,
goodness. All
this
right,
is
that's-
called a shaft.
this is Daryl-
Oh, this is a shaft.
This is, each are
This is how you
individually
control
shafts.
which
But the whole thing is a
All
harness?
together is a harness.
Okay, I understand.
And unfortunately, today,
Lifting and dropping, this is how.
shaft and harness have become interchangeable because people don't understand, this is a shaft, this is a harness. Yes, that's similar to my tape loom.
Let me see it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Tape loom.
my tape loom has the cloth beam and
Yeah, this is
everything
for
on it.
I'm
making.
glad I found these guys.
This is for making narrow pieces
So,
of reinforced
If you,
There are pieces of
cord, not cord, flat.
What is this for?
This
that's
is
for making tape ropes.
I don't know what a tape rope is.
Okay,
rope,
have you ever looked at anything from the
There's so many
Civil
Bible
War
covers.
recreation?
Yes.
Okay, they wear on the bottom of their pants, when, you know, they wore their pants to here, they had to tie, because we didn't have elastic back then. They had to tie. That's what those tapes were for.
Okay.
When you see their shoes
World
and there's a
War I.
tape
Right.
coming up, that is what they are woven on.
That
It's
is
called
a
tape
small loom
It's-
that,
it's- I've got
similar to
2 of them.
shoelaces, only wider.
Wider.
right, okay.
Yeah, I've got, and I've got 2 of them that are this big. One of them was built just before the Civil War in 1850. It's not working because the little pinion that holds the beam together has snapped, and it's so small I haven't been able to find something. Everything I've found is either too small or too big.
Straight
you know,
twill.
so it moves. Yeah, straight twill. So I have 2
I'm
of
doing the
those.
weave and she's doing the
And
machine.
there are no
That's where we overlap.
where you have brake capability on these looms, the tape loom doesn't. All the tension is done with your hands. So you have to be able to control it and put your thread through and then pull it and beat it in all without assistance of
Right.
equipment. So it is very hands-on and it's very time consuming. But once you get into it, it is fabulous.
So why does this one have 4 levers at the bottom instead of 3?
Because it is set up, if you look, there are 4 shafts.
Oh.
So
lever.
each shaft has its own treadle.
Okay.
It's called a direct tie-up.
Okay.
One shaft goes to one treadle, direct tie-up. This one
It's set
has,
for 6. If it was
it
set
can
properly.
go, 2 shafts can go on 1 bar. So you can put multiple shafts on 1 bar, which makes patterning more, you have a
machine
larger
does-
repertoire available.
The machine does more of the work for
The
you.
machine does more of the work, you can get more intricate designs. So the more treadles you've got, the more shafts you've got.
Yeah.
The difference between that and the simpler looms, a simple loom is simple to set up. It's, to get complex work, you have to do it. It's all hands-on. A more complex loom, like this one, it does all the work for you, but its setup takes longer. It's more complex to set up. This is a combination
Would
of
the
a-
dressing on this one, when you dress this, would you dress that one the same?
Exactly the same.
Exactly the same. Now run me through the, like,
Hey, he knows that word.
I've been studying. I've been studying.
We had a very, very in-depth conversation over, what, hour and a half?
Yes, I've been studying my material. So run me through, if you were using this right now, and run me through how you would do the brake on this machine.
Okay, this machine, the brake is, there are 2 actual brakes on this machine. There's a back brake, the one that we pointed out back there.
Okay.
That's on the warp beam.
Okay,
Now that one is controlled by this bar down here.
You have to.
I got you. I see it.
Releasing the tension on
So
these ropes lets
this
this turn.
here,
Right. Okay.
and I can't, I can't easily move this, but oh, there we go. No, it's down right now because of the way it's locked.
So you would lift it up and it would release tension on that brake.
And then when I wanted to release the brake, I would push down on it.
Okay.
So right now, it's locked down and in place.
So say you just release the tension and you need to advance
You
the
would roll
material.
this forward.
Right.
You would. How would you roll that forward though? You have to pull it
Okay,
through the.
yes, and
What do you call this
one
beam?
Here, this is called the cloth beam.
The cloth beam. So
Because
you go
this
from the
is where
warp beam. You have to take the brake off the warp beam.
Yeah.
feed the material through the warp, through
To
the
the cloth beam.
the cloth beam. Now, how do you advance this?
This one here is missing a piece,
Okay.
right here. This here is a bar that comes out here that ratchets.
I
back.
got you. Okay.
Okay, so once I've got the ability to, which right now I don't because of the way everything's locked down.
Once you've woven as far
And
as you
you
can
would-
reasonably do.
So if
you
this
need
were
to move the cloth.
where I was, and now I want to advance this on, because this piece is missing,
Okay.
the way it's set up, and now I've got my tension.
You got your tension back.
And I can pull until I've got my tension where I want it, as close as possible to what the ratchet and pawl can
But
handle.
it would
And it-
normally have a lever.
Normally.
So
there'd
you
be
would
a
you
lever.
could you could move it, advance it, put the right tension on, so you could
And
keep
a
weaving
lot
and do
of
the
these-
shuttle and pull
A
the.
lot of these looms have lost that advancing capability by ratchet. So a lot of these looms, the weavers, for these older looms, weavers do exactly what I just did. They hand turn both of them. Karen has to get up from one of her looms, walk around the back, release it,
Is that when you put the
turn the-
Karen? Is that when you put the crank in?
uh-huh,
Okay.
release it, and then come back to the front and advance it.
Okay.
And that's the same thing you'll have to do there. You can't do it from up front. You have to go to the back, turn your warp forward, come to the front.
Can you show me how to do that on that machine?
Maybe.
I mean, if we pretend it was
That's what that bar.
because I'm gonna have to know exactly what to do, and I need to get a period
What we
rope.
need
I may
to
have
do
to
is
make
get
one.
you some videos of how it actually functions. Not this one in particular, but a loom in itself. This here advances your warp.
Okay.
So you would advance the warp, and then you would come up front, and you would pull the warp on
That way.
until
Okay.
you had, because the warp comes from here to here, around this, and back down.
Okay. So
So
I've
you're-
got tension on here. I'm standing. I'm ready to do my. I'm ready to weave,
Mm-hmm.
and I've got a rope going from this dowel to this dowel here.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the little knots you said that you get the closest one you can, and you advance, and you would put
And
your
then
hand
when-
down, and then
And then once you've got this, at the level, if you've got too much up here and you're not tight enough, you walk back to the back and you roll the warp back on until you get the tension you need.
what
So
stops
once
that from turning?
weight mostly.
Okay, you see the stick? Stick and
Yes, ma'am.
that can be tied so it cannot roll.
Is that when a weighted? Is that what?
It can be done with weights.
Okay.
It can be tied to a wall
Okay.
so that it can't move.
How
forward.
would I do it when I start getting
I
this
would
thing
say
ready to go?
sandbag. I would say
How would I
sandbag.
do the sandbags, and where would I attach them
Over
and hang
this.
them?
Sandbag is attached to this.
Oh,
the
I
rope goes
see.
around twice,
So you can
and
take
back.
that. You put the tension on. You take that out and put it where the gravity will be in the right spot on the
Gravity
back side.
holds it so it doesn't move when you're.
I've also seen
Beam.
sandbags for the front take up.
Yeah. So there are.
How would you
there
do it on the sandbags on the front?
Same way.
Same way.
The cord
On
goes
this
around
here.
it twice, the bag hangs down.
Something like this. We'd wrap it around like that, and it would hang.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Something along those lines.
What Paul's used
This
to
did
do?
not go with this initial.
Now, do you think I should make
Now,
one?
you can
And
make a lock-in. You
should I
can.
do that?
Yeah, you can if
I
you.
don't know why this stub is
But
here.
if you do,
That-
these are holding this beam
But why-
inside
But why is it sticking out in the way of winding your fabric?
because this was used on a different loom, Karen. Somebody's taken these apart. See, they come out. They're not supposed to.
Okay.
And they probably were not put back in to the right holes.
This is
How
why I
many
love-
times have you taken a screw out?
So this
here
is supposed to
for
be
screws?
flush.
This should be flush.
Under your fabric, yeah.
That makes sense. Now,
It
now
might
those
stick
you see
just
that
a little
that
bit
that on the warp right there. See the dowel.
Mm-hmm.
Now, would you put the dowels on this side?
Yes.
And is that to keep proper tension?
It keeps the fabric from laying against each other and pressing in.
Why is that
It's
bad?
tensioning between, because it changes the tension of your warp.
So it's for tension purposes. That's why you have
Your
to have this.
fabric is
Here.
squishable.
If you carry
Oh, yes.
pull up on this so we can.
I got you.
If you see, it's going between different layers.
Yes.
That's to keep the layers from sinking into
That-
each other.
Yeah. And
That's to keep the layers from sinking in.
initially,
It keeps your.
So that's
cooking
why I've
way-
seen, 8,000 videos I've seen. They have slats of wood and they're like little thin,
Exactly.
and they wrap the warp around
Okay,
there.
Now, some people wind paper in there.
Yeah,
I don't like
nowadays-
that. It doesn't hold the tension I like. It doesn't hold
and
the
that's
smoothness.
now.
Plus, it's not to period, is
that's-
it?
No, it's not period.
But it's period to now.
Well, yeah, right. Yeah,
Exactly.
now.
So the period of this loom and a lot of the looms I like to work with, it's not period.
What would be ideal on a demonstration day is we'd take kids from the cotton bowls to our cotton gin to all the way through what you guys are doing,
Yeah.
weaving it into cloth.
Okay, now, one of the things that we do, we take fiber, whether it be cotton, wool, alpaca, doesn't matter. We take it from its raw form through a processing to the spinning wheel, spin it, ply it, and put it on a loom and weave with it.
Right.
So we take it from the very beginning all the way to the end is what we do in our
You see
demonstrations.
how
Now,
absolutely
obviously,
even it is
that's over
across there?
several
Mm-hmm.
weeks
Because I've
of
wound
time.
in a flat
But
slat.
Yes, that is
per
a
turn.
Oh,
process.
yeah.
So
You have
otherwise the
cotton gin.
threads will try to
I
slide
do
down
my cotton
between
In
each
between
other.
each other.
And you
I
get
the bowls
zip
and do it by
tension.
hand, which is killing me.
And
But yeah,
Okay.
you've got the
I like
gin.
my loom,
Yeah,
absolutely.
You've got the cotton gin. You've got, I'm
I
assuming.
see
you've
how
got-
The
that's
better I
dressed.
get the tension, the better I can get the
Yeah, you
the
have
product.
somebody,
Right.
I
just-
can't get a
this is
smooth
how
piece
they
of
spun
cloth
the-
if I've got
the fiber into thread.
some tight, some loose
Then the
threads.
thread is either used
And I need to
singly, if it's
reorganize
spun properly,
everything
or
here. They're
spun
all mixed up.
tightly enough, or it's plied, and then once it's plied,
You can
it's
see
gotta
my-
be-
my
it's
very
gotta be
helpful.
wet finish to set the twist. otherwise
Interestingly,
it'll
they
come
don't
apart.
mess with the looms and
And
tear
then
them up.
put it on a loom and weave with it.
Come on,
Let's-
pictures,
we'd
where are
like
you?
two
You're way
different
back.
things.
I need,
One is on a demonstration day, to have y'all here.
Let me get this
to
real quick.
demonstrate all the different pieces along the way and talk about it. And then a second way is when we're static like we are today, where we have little blurbs on each machine.
yeah.
To give, and that's what this museum I saw in East Texas this past weekend had, these little soundbite blurbs.
Yep.
Sort of like these, to where, so if y'all have ideas on
That's
what
how
should
I
be
like
said,
my beam. You can see how
Yeah.
smooth it is.
fabulous.
Yeah, yeah, if it has to do with fiber
It's
processing
gone through
of
3
any kind,
tiers of
one
tension
of
up
us,
here,
either Karen or Karen
water
and
bottles
myself are
for the weight.
oldest
So
in
as it
terms
winds
of-
on, it winds on
Not quite aged.
perfectly
We have one lady
smooth,
who's
so
older
I
than we
get
are.
perfectly
But,
sheer
in
smooth.
terms
Is this the
of
one at your
experience,
house?
This is one at
I've
my
been
house.
Okay.
spinning and weaving since
You're welcome to
1994,
come by anytime you want to
and
come
she's
up
been spinning
and
weaving
sit
since
down at a loom and
1955.
see
would
how
love
it
that.
works.
So we
I
have
need
a
to do that
wealth of
because-
experience with
This is a
all
loom
different
I
kinds
bought
of
that's
equipment.
antique,
Do you have a?
and I've added these 2 rollers
Don't know what that is.
Okay,
because they were missing. And I'm
it's on-
weaving out at the
typically on
Renaissance
3 or
Festival.
4 legs.
Jay has this loom
It's
in
a,
his storage.
Okay.
a
Where did he
column of
go?
wood. It's got a.
I don't
a
know, that's a Jay thing.
Rotating,
Um,
set of dowels.
never mind.
Or spindles.
I
Typically
need to
6
pull
or 8.
what's
And
interesting
it's
to you,
thin.
put them together
And it
into
goes
a
round.
single
And you
folio.
roll, you wind your yarn onto it, and when you get so many revolutions, it clicks at you. That's why it's called a clock, it ticks. Have you ever heard the, I'm sure you have, the, here we go round the mulberry bush, the monkey chased the weasel? That
When it
song,
hits the clicker, that's pop,
pop goes the weasel.
That's 80 yards, that's a standard measured scan
cool.
for.
Mine
me.
is actually at 40,
Yeah,
40, so.
it's a set scan.
Yeah, it's a set standard.
Because the
Fantastic.
lady spinning is selling it to a jobber who takes it away to a
To
weaver.
Yeah.
So they use the it's called a yarn clock, but you'll see them online all the time as spinning wheel. No,
No.
it's not a spinning wheel.
And people will wind them backwards and break
And
the
break
gearing.
them. And so most of what we find are broken because the little piece that comes up
little sliver.
is only about that wide. So when you wind backwards, there's a dowel inside the upper
And it
area
snaps the tip.
that is, as you're going the right direction, you hear tick, 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 pop!
As
Tick,
it
tick, tick,
springs
tick,
forward.
tick.
I got
as
you,
you're
yeah.
And, but when you go backwards, if you force it,
You jam it
you
against
jam
it's
it against
sustaining.
that,
Yeah, it breaks
or
it.
it completely snaps it off.
Let's,
And so that's typically
if y'all
what we
have
find.
time, we need to go look in 2 buildings to see. I know we have spinning wheels, but we need to
We
look
have
for-
all that.
We have all the time you want.
I am here I'm here from San Antonio. I leave on Friday morning. And then I come back, I try to come back every other month.
So let me ask let me stop.
Done before anything else, other than taking it apart, obviously. You're gonna have to take everything apart first. This will come off by taking those off, dropping it down and moving it out. This area here, this lifts up, the reed comes
Out, okay.
Now, the reed can be cleaned with citric acid. You soak it in citric acid. If you come and look real closely here, these are normally covered with tape, paper tape. But the tape is, the older they get, the more it comes off. And so you feel the ridging there? That's the reed. That's these pieces. This will not, what's holding it in place should not come apart, but you'll lose whatever you have here if you soak it, which is what you have to
Should
do.
I replace this?
Tape. Yeah, I use Nomex tape.
Okay.
That's what I use on mine.
Okay.
Is Nomex tape. The problem with Nomex tape is you can't get it in the brown and black colors. Electrical tape works really well because you put black on it and it holds.
Okay.
None of these appear to be damaged, so
Okay.
that's good. And this is a very fine. They used a very fine thread on this.
Okay.
Very fine thread. The biggest problem with this is going to be checking inside here for burrs.
Can I go in there and clean each one? I'll do
And
that.
that's what you'll have to do.
Okay.
Is with I use emery boards and nail files
Okay.
because they're thin enough
That would be
to
perfect.
get in, and you have to do both sides.
Right.
So you've got to go both sides, and every single one has to be clean.
Right.
To get the rust off, citric acid. Soak it in citric acid. Let it rinse it real well. Let it dry. If you've got spots, go back. I use a Dremel and nail files,
Okay.
and go back and clean it. And then once it's completely dry, just take and cover this with the tape.
Okay.
The whitest electrical tape you can find, if not
Both sides?
in layers.
Both sides, okay.
Yeah, both sides, because this is interchangeable. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's interchangeable. So,
I was worried about the reed, but I'm happy that it can be.
yeah, the
we
reed,
can fix
the
it.
reed, and the key to the reed is going to be the rough edges in between. Now, the citric acid will take most, if not all, of the rust off, and then it's just a matter of making sure you don't have those burrs. And if you have a burr, find some way, and typically I use nail polish, just a generic green, black, something different than the color, and just put a dot where there's an issue with the reed point, so that it can either be readdressed at a lower
Right.
point, or you know that we need to skip that reed point. Because
When you
can
dress
skip-
it.
When you dress it,
Okay.
you can skip one, but you can't skip 5 in one area. It just doesn't, the cloth won't
Right.
work right. You can skip one, and it's frustrating to somebody like me who goes and I look at it, they missed a reed, they missed a reed. And if I don't see something that indicates to me there's a problem, then I just assume the weaver made the mistake, or the dresser made the mistake.
Right.
But if it's if it's something that minor, that's minor. You know,
Okay.
that's minor, unless it's a large block of it. Now, these reeds are available. We can replace it for about $60. For about $50, we can replace it with stainless, which we don't want to do because they didn't have stainless, which means this reed has to be cared for. It cannot be put in an area that's going to have a lot of moisture. If it is, damp it or near it, whatever, because it will rust again. That's the difference between stainless and non, but stainless stands out as modern,
Okay.
which we don't want to do. Back up. And you'll see the way this is notched here. If it wasn't, if the reed only went from here to here, you can use a smaller reed in this, a smaller one, because you've got the ability to come up to here. But this was set for this size of reed. So if we were to replace it with something modern, we would want to measure it. And usually they're marked on the ends. But this one looks like it's old enough. It's may not have been. No, there it is. There's the markings.
Okay.
Once that's clean, we should be able to tell what size.
What this is?
Yeah, it's written on both sides. So,
Okay.
it's one side usually is an identifier mark, and the other side is the size.
Okay.
So this would all have to come apart. You may not have to remove the bottom. I don't know what kind of work might be needed here. Now, you'll notice there's a hole here. That's for tying this forward.
Why do you want to do that?
If you're not using it for a while, and you don't want the children playing with it, you don't want the horses to bounce up against it and move it, or you've got a project and you don't want it interrupted, then you would tie it forward.
Okay.
And just tie it on, and that would allow you to walk away from it. It also allows you to climb inside and straighten out the warp without getting hit.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
those are that's a definite. So you're going to want to take the beater bar off.
Okay.
And as Karen said, yes, we can put another set of holes to raise this up, but if we do the lift like you're going to need to, you shouldn't have to. This should
Right.
clear that if this is set up properly. If it still doesn't clear, that's when the extra hole, and you lift it up just a little bit.
And where does the warp
Typically-
need to come through? Because this comes off the top of this, right?
Yeah, it comes.
And it needs to feed in the middle of the reed?
No, actually.
Where does it need to feed through?
You're going to want it so that it feeds through when it's laying down, when nothing is lifting it.
Right.
It's going to lay right along the bottom.
So this needs to be aligned with this.
Now, wait a minute. This is a counterbalance, so it needs to be a little bit higher because each one, in that loom over there,
Right?
when you lift the threads, they actually lift up, the others stay where they are. On this one, when you rotate and one shaft is up, the other one is down. So you do want to come close
So
to
your
the middle.
shed, it goes,
About midway.
right, okay.
About midway. It doesn't have to be exact. But
Okay.
it has to be enough that when the shafts separate, the one goes down, the other goes up, and that opens.
So you have enough room
That
in
opens
the
your
reed.
shed. Yes.
Got you.
Yes.
So basically, pretty much, if I aim for the middle of this, coming off here, that should be right.
And
hopefully it
now-
should be set.
Right now, we have this much weaving space. That's it. Right here. That's all we have. Now, when we lift this up and it moves back, that shifts backwards also, so that opens our weaving space to about here.
Okay.
Which is typical.
Okay.
You don't want to do a whole lot more than that before you advance, because then your tension gets funny.
Okay.
But basically, this has to come out. That's a definite. The bottom beams have to be reseated and repaired. Obviously, you're not going to want to try to recut these. I would just repair the two backs over there and reseat those beams with this as far back as you can get. You basically, this is going to have to be supported, but you're going to have to be able to reseat these beams also. Best way to do that would be to take and put a beam in to hold all the way to the floor, and pull this off, do whatever you've got to do, put it back in, and then put a permanent beam in here.
Should I joint that beam without exposing? Just do a small mortise and tenon in here where it sticks up about not even halfway, so it doesn't slide.
I'm going to answer the question on that in the best way I can. You're the woodworker. You know what the strength
Okay.
that will give you and what
Sure.
it might not. Now, I personally would double check the viability of the wood for that kind of cutting before I did it, but this seems to be pretty sturdy. It doesn't seem like it's rotting on the inside. So on that, I don't think there'd be a problem.
Okay.
But like I said, I do very, very basic woodwork. Only the very amount I need to do to repair the item I'm working on. If I need anything more, I have 2 woodworkers in my family that I call Dave.
Okay.
You know, so I tend to do what has to be done, and then they do it. So, but basically, yeah, this has to be set up. Now, you can support it here.
Putting a post in.
Take
just
this
right
out.
about there.
Yeah, take this out if you have to. You may not have to be able to seat it and fix the back. but you can see the separation here.
Mm-hmm.
That's how much it's moved. You've got right at an inch. From there to there is an inch. So
Okay.
you've got right at an inch on this side, but not on that side. So it's skewed.
Sure.
So if you can, you need to get this weight off. Once this weight is off, then you will have better.
How much room do I need when you're operating this machine? That's as far as this is going to go back, right? It's not going to go back any farther than that, is it?
It'll go as
I know, but in operation.
No, right,
Because
right.
when I put this post in, I don't want it to interfere with this.
You don't.
So I need to put that post.
Yeah.
So I can't interfere with this joint here.
When you are weaving, you're throwing your shots. So I've got pressed my treadle down.
Right.
Okay, my treadle is down. I've got my shot. I pushed my shuttle through. I've got that. I'm going to reach up. I'm going to pull this forward so that it hits and puts that line I just put in place, and then it's going to swing back.
Okay.
I'm not purposely going to go
Yeah.
back
So
here
I'm just trying to get an idea where this needs to go.
Unless when I'm advancing, I want to move this out of the way. So I would possibly push it back like that.
Okay.
And see, this is where the problem is with this beam.
It's just too long.
The peg is too long. It needs to be cut down.
Okay.
Actually, your entire beater is too low because the.
Well, the beater's going to come up, but it's not going to come up enough to cut, because when we
I'll
pushed
cut
it
it.
up as far as we could, it didn't clear.
Is there-
It just hit the top of it.
It cleared. When I'm headed far.
Okay, oh, yeah, okay, so then that way it would not, but yeah, right, see the way this is? This is the alignment you need.
Straight from the front to the
Straight
back.
from the front
Got
to
you.
back with a slight angle from the top of the beam to the back, to the front of this one.
Right.
But that's where it's gonna come, and that makes it clear. So that's what you need, and see how much more this,
But
when
basically,
he,
those back legs need to be vertical.
Yeah, and
yeah,
I say
you've got an
again,
inch, this needs to shift forward and up.
Yeah. Every time you'll push it up,
Every time it moves, it
it's sliding
moves.
out.
Gets
Yeah,
erratic.
but it,
Yeah,
when it
it's
comes
really
back
bad.
down, it slides back in. This is moving, because that's still at an inch.
Yeah.
It's based on my finger,
That's
it's
really
still at
bad.
an inch. So,
Let's see if
yeah,
I can do something about that. There we go.
pick it up and shake it.
okay, somebody just,
Trying to make it work.
uh-huh.
When it started to
I
leak,
didn't see it when it was leaning forward, but there's a shim in there.
I am still voting for an additional post on this.
Well, that's what we're talking about, is where could he put should he put the post so it doesn't interfere with the beater bar? And
I'm gonna remove this and put it here.
if you put it right there, that should
Yeah.
be sufficient. With with the back beam standing up straight, a support beam here to give the support that's needed for
As
this.
long as the post is not forward of the heddle roller,
Yeah, and it's
it's gotta be out of the way,
gonna be right here. It's gonna be right here.
because
Yeah, that's perfect. If you go right in this area.
Right.
or just
You'll
in
be
front
fine.
of it, just in front of it,
Yeah.
should still clear.
Yeah.
That's an easy fix, and it's just a matter of finding a piece of lumber that,
The reed is a standard stainless reed. The taping has to be redone, the rust has to be gotten rid of, and we need to check for burrs. But
fast fix is insert a reed we can use
right now, yeah, that's a non-stainless,
And I
a
tried-
non-stainless reed for right now. And one of us has got one.
Oh,
I'll
Between the
just
two of
fix
us.
that.
Well, yeah, but if we are able to get everything else done, the reed is the least important, because we can.
Okay.
there are modern replacements that you wouldn't know.
That you are not gonna know are modern. The biggest thing is getting a non-stainless one. And I know I have those sitting around the house.
Well, you can run it with a stainless if you really
Oh,
need
yeah.
it to go. Yeah, the roller is not level,
And, yeah,
because it slid down.
it changed because everything changed. So,